Hello, everyone. Today, we're not diving into an epic battle or a lavish banquet, but into the bizarre, stench-filled world of medieval hygiene, where bathing could be seen as an invitation to disease. This is an era where hot water was considered a gateway to plagues, garlic doubled as perfume, and chamber pots flew out windows like a daily ritual. Ready to explore a Europe that's itchy, smelly, but surprisingly creative? If you're ready, drop a heart for this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more quirky historical tales. Leave a comment to let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see who's joining us on this wild ride. Now, dim the lights, maybe crack a window for some fresh air, and brace yourself. We're about to step into a world where clean was a very relative concept, yet packed with fascinating surprises. Picture yourself in 1347, when bathing wasn't a moment of relaxation, but a gamble with death. In the Middle Ages, hot water wasn't your friend. It was a traitor, ready to let the plague sneak into your body. People once loved soaking, thanks to the legacy of Roman bathhouses, but by the 14th century, things had changed. Bathing was now the privilege of the reckless or those desperate enough to have nothing left to lose. Think a hot bath sounds relaxing? In the Middle Ages, it was flirting with death. You wake up in a dark hut, your body reeking like you just rolled through a cow barn. You glance at the corner where an old wooden tub awaits. Fill it with water and heat it up? Sounds dreamy until you remember. Hot water is a deadly trap. Your neighbor, old Bert, with his tangled beard, bangs on the door, shouting, "Don't bathe, you fool! Water opens your pores, and the plague's lurking out there." You look at him, wondering if he's ever bathed in his life. But he's got a point. People believed hot water turned you into a sponge for germs, and in plague times, that wasn't a joke. You start to wonder, is being clean worth risking your life? You decide to take the plunge anyway because your stench has scared off the neighbor's cat. You drag out the tub, light a fire, and heat the water, a process that takes a full hour. Steam rises, looking oh so tempting. But in your mind, the plague is giggling outside the door. Bathing, it turns out, isn't just a bath. It's a ritual to pray you survive. Just as you're about to dip a toe in, your mother, who hasn't bathed since last year's harvest, bursts in. "Are you trying to die?" she screams, yanking the tub and spilling water onto the dirt floor. She tells you about Tom from the village, who bathed last week and is now coughing like he's on his way out. In the Middle Ages, bathing wasn't just hygiene. It was a horror story the whole village told to scare each other. You sigh, staring at the tub, now just a muddy puddle on the floor. Maybe they're right. Cleanliness is a luxury, and survival is the priority. You grab a piece of linen cloth, dip it in the leftover cold water, and wipe your face. Good enough, you tell yourself, though deep down you know you still smell like a pigsty corner. But hold on, you're not completely giving up on hygiene. You learn that bathing doesn't always need hot water or a big tub. A cloth, some cold water, and a bit of courage are enough to make you feel like a civilized human. At least you're not Tom, the village's new gossip topic. Not everyone gave up bathing entirely, though. Some people still sneaked a bath for special occasions, like before a wedding or Easter. They did it in secret, like performing a forbidden ritual. Bathing, in the eyes of the church, was practically an invitation for the devil to drop by. You hear rumors about Lady Eleanor, the local lord's bride-to-be. She bathed before her wedding in a tub scented with lavender, but had to do it at midnight so no one would notice. The village whispered, "She bathed? Definitely a witch." Bathing, it turns out, wasn't just dangerous. It was the fastest way to get labeled a sinner. The church didn't help matters. Priests preached that a clean body was a gateway to pride, and hot water was a path to hell. You look at the priest, who seems to have never met water, and wonder if he really believes his own words. But when the plague sweeps through the next village, you start thinking, maybe they're right, and bathing is a curse in disguise. The plague wasn't the only reason bathing became rare. Heating water was a whole ordeal, chopping wood, building a fire, waiting, and hoping the tub didn't leak. You'd spend half a morning just preparing for a bath, and when the water cooled, you'd realize you wasted a day on a dream of cleanliness. Bathing in the Middle Ages was a test of patience, and you failed. You notice not everyone fears bathing as much as you do. The wealthy, like the lord in his castle, still bathe, but they have servants to do all the work. They sit in linen-lined tubs, water-scented with herbs, pretending the plague doesn't exist. Meanwhile, you've got a dirty cloth and a dream of being clean. Looking back, you realize medieval people weren't lazy or clueless. They were just trying to survive in a world full of fear. They didn't know about germs, but they knew bathing often came with risks. You wipe your face again, feeling like you've beaten fate. Medieval clean, you mutter, though the cat still glares at you with disgust. But wait, bathing wasn't just a personal matter. It used to be a community event. Before the church and the plague ruined everything, public bathhouses were where the whole village gathered, like a party with hot water. You wonder, if bathing at home is so risky, what's it like bathing with the entire village? Let's step into the world of public bathhouses, where cleanliness came with drama and a side of scandal. Imagine walking into a medieval public bathhouse, billed as the spa of the 13th century, complete with hot water, laughter, and a touch of scandal. This wasn't just a place to get clean, it was the village's party hub, where everyone gathered, chatted, and sometimes indulged in questionable services. But the church called these places dens of sin, and the plague was lurking, ready to turn your bath into a disaster. Want to bathe? Prepare to be ogled by the village and blacklisted by the priest. Desperate to escape your horrific body odor? The public bathhouse is the answer, or so you think. You trudge through the muddy street, clutching a precious coin to pay the entry fee. Before you stands a stone building, steam rising, with laughter and music spilling out like a tavern. This isn't your cow barn corner. This is where the village comes to live like humans. You push open the door, and hot steam hits your face like a warm hug. Inside, the whole village is crammed into large wooden tubs, from the fishmonger to the blacksmith with arms like thighs. They're laughing, drinking, and tossing bread at each other like it's a fair. The public bathhouse, it turns out, isn't for bathing. It's for partying with the village while soaking wet. You find an empty spot in a tub, dip your toes in, and feel like all your troubles melt away. The hot water makes you forget the chill of your hut and the sweat stuck to your shirt. But then you spot a chunk of cheese floating nearby. Clean? Maybe you're bathing in the village's soup? A serving girl approaches, smiling and offering a relaxing service, the kind your mother would definitely slap you for considering. You shake your head but can't help wondering, is this bathhouse really just for cleaning? The church calls it a den of sin, and now you see why. Bathing is just an excuse, and drama and scandal are the main course. You want to be clean, but also survive the bath without being labeled a degenerate. Outside the window, the priest stands silently, clutching a cross like he's about to perform an exorcism. His gaze sweeps the crowd, landing on you like you just stole the holy bread. You wonder, is bathing really worth this much judgment? In the Middle Ages, the public bathhouse was the only place you could get clean and be scrutinized by the church at the same time. Then a rumor spreads through the crowd. The plague has hit the next village, and the bathhouse is suspected as the culprit. People whisper that the shared water is a germ pit, and anyone who bathes risks death. You look at the tub, where someone's sock is floating, and feel like death is winking at you. The bathhouse, once a paradise, now feels like a deadly trap. You consider staying a bit longer since you already paid and don't want to waste the coin. But then someone shouts, "The plague's here!" and the crowd panics, rushing out, leaving you in the now cold water. You scramble to dress and run, thinking cleanliness isn't worth dying for. Bathing with the village, it turns out, is the fastest way to get wet and terrified. In the chaos of escaping, you hear about private bath chambers for nobles. They bathe in wine-scented water, sprinkled with herbs, with servants fanning and singing. While you're crammed in a dirty tub with the blacksmith, they turn bathing into a wealth flex. The public bathhouse, it turns out, divides rich from poor as sharply as a sword. You pause at the street corner, soaked and panting, realizing the public bathhouse was a stage for medieval society. The poor bathe together, the rich bathe in luxury, and the church judges everyone. You look at yourself still smelly despite the bath, and wonder, is there a way to be clean without all the drama? Bathing in a public bathhouse, it turns out, is like playing roulette with the plague and your reputation. But not all bathhouses were such chaos. In southern Europe, like Italy or Spain, bathhouses kept traditions alive with steam rooms and stricter cleanliness rules. In your village, however, the bathhouse is shutting down due to the plague and the church's curses. The public bathhouse, once a point of pride, is now just a tale to scare kids. You recall the priest's words, "A clean soul matters, not the body. It's fleeting." You glance at his reeking robe, wondering if he truly believes that. But as the plague spreads, you think, maybe the public bathhouse really was a bad idea. Bathing together, it turns out, takes the courage of a knight and the luck of a 7-lived cat. You trudge back to your hut, soaked, slightly panicked, but proud of surviving the public bathhouse. You look at the old linen cloth on the wall and think, maybe cleanliness doesn't need tubs or parties. Let's explore the art of wiping down, how medieval people stayed hygienic without diving into drama or disease. You stand in your chilly hut, sniffing your own stench and thinking, bathing? No way. After disasters with home tubs and bathhouse drama, medieval people invented wiping down, using a linen cloth dipped in herbal water or vinegar to scrub hands, face, and armpits. It was marketed as a home spa, but if a spa is a cow barn corner with freezing water, then sure. Wiping down was the way to stay hygienic without risking your life. But was it clean? Only halfway, at best. Bathing's risky? Don't worry, wiping down is hygiene's superhero. You pull out a crumpled linen cloth, dangling on the wall like a flag of surrender. You dip it in a bucket of water so cold your hand wants to quit. Wiping down, it turns out, is the last resort when the whole world's against bathing. You scrub the cloth on your face, feeling like you're scouring a greasy pan. The icy water makes you shiver, but you tell yourself, this is how civilized people stay clean. After a few scrubs, you look at the bucket, now murky like dishwater. Clean? Maybe you just moved the dirt from your face to the cloth. You decide to level up by dipping the cloth in a bowl of vinegar your mother keeps ready. The vinegar's stench hits your nose, making you cough like you inhaled forge smoke. You scrub your armpits, hoping to mask the sweat, but now you just smell like a cow barn salad. Wiping down, it turns out, is the art of making things worse while feeling proud. You hear the neighbor lady brag about using lavender water to wipe down, like she's some noble. You glance at your vinegar bowl, then at the weeds outside, wondering if plucking a few would make you smell better. But herbs are a luxury. You've got vinegar and patience. In the Middle Ages, cleanliness was a dream, and wiping down was how you pretended to achieve it. You focus on scrubbing the strategic zones, hands, face, armpits, as if cleaning them will magically make your whole body follow. Each scrub feels like you're slaying body odor, like a knight fighting a dragon. But after 10 minutes, you sniff your armpit and think, good enough. until the neighbor's cow backs away like it saw a demon. Wiping down isn't just hygiene, it's how you prove you're not a barbarian. When you show up at the market with a clean face, by medieval standards, the village nods like you just won a prize. But you know the cloth only hides the truth. You still reek like a pigsty corner. Wiping down is the art of fooling the village. And yourself. You hear nobles turned wiping down into a fancy ritual. They hire servants to use silk cloths, dipped in warm rosewater, gently scrubbing like tending a precious statue. While you wrestle with a linen cloth hard as a board, they enjoy a spa in their castle. Cleanliness, it turns out, is a rich person's privilege. You've just got vinegar and pride. Wiping down isn't just for you. Your mother joins in, especially before church. She drags you over, scrubbing your face with a wet cloth like she's cleaning the floor, making you yelp. She says, "God doesn't want to see you dirty." Going to church with a clean face, it turns out, is how you avoid being called a heretic. You realize wiping down doesn't need hot water or bathhouses, just a cloth and endurance. But your cloth, after weeks, smells worse than you do. You stare at it, wondering whether to wash it or let it self-clean. In the Middle Ages, even the wiping cloth was a test of patience. You hear that in southern Europe, people wipe down with olive oil mixed with herbs, keeping skin soft and clean. You touch your cracked clay-like skin, glance at your vinegar bowl, and sigh. Hygiene tech, it turns out, wasn't for poor villagers like you. Wiping down was how you fought dirt, and lost with pride. You start to take pride in your wiping skills. You scrub fast, precise, and even invent a way to dip the cloth without spilling. But a breeze at the market carries your body odor to the village. Halfway clean, it turns out, is when you think you smell fine, but the world knows you're lying to yourself. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just surviving with what they had. Wiping down was a clever solution when bathing was a luxury and the plague was lurking. You hang up the cloth, feeling you did your best, until the cat glares at you like a traitor. In the Middle Ages, cleanliness wasn't the goal. It was a dream you chased with a dirty rag. But wait, if wiping down only gets you halfway clean, how do you hide your stench from the village? Luckily, medieval people had another superhero, the linen undershirt, the magical cloth that turned you from a walking barn into someone vaguely civilized. Let's explore how a shirt saved your reputation. You stand before a cracked mirror in your hut, sniffing your stench and realizing that bathing or wiping down won't save your reputation. Thank goodness medieval people had a secret weapon, the linen undershirt, a magical cloth that absorbed sweat, masked odors, and was easier to wash than your body. Changing into a clean shirt was how you proved you had class to the village, like you just stepped out of a castle. The linen shirt wasn't just clothing, it was a hygiene shield, Your Honor, and the thing keeping you from social exile. Forget bathing, the linen shirt is your hygiene superpower. You pull a linen undershirt from the corner, pristine white like a knight's vow. Slipping it on, you feel like a superhero, ready to face the village without fear of your stench. The linen shirt, it turns out, is the shield that turns you from a walking barn into someone vaguely civilized. You stride to the market, chest puffed out, flashing the undershirt peeking from under your outer clothes. The village looks at you, nodding like you just got knighted. A pristine linen shirt? You're a star? A grimy one? Welcome to the Chicken Coop Smell Club. As the day goes on, the linen shirt works overtime, soaking up sweat, masking odors, and enduring the dirt from farm work. But by week's end, it's stiff as armor, reeking like you trapped a herd of pigs inside. You stare at it, wondering, wash it or keep wearing it? In the Middle Ages, the linen shirt was your best friend until it betrayed you. You hear your mother say the linen shirt was a genius invention because washing a shirt was easier than washing your whole body. Just swap in a clean one, and the village thinks you bathe daily. But your clean shirt has been through 3 harvests. Cleanliness, it turns out, is a magic trick, and the linen shirt is the main prop. You decide to wash the shirt, but it's a battle. You haul it to the river, bash it against rocks, and soak it in ash water, hoping it'll turn white again. After 2 hours, it's still gray, and your hands ache like you just fought a duel. The linen shirt may be a hygiene shield, but washing it is the fastest way to make you want to quit life. You hear nobles have stacks of linen shirts, swapping them daily like they grow on trees. They hire servants to wash them, while you've got one shirt and a dream of cleanliness. Poor folks like you sometimes use rough wool instead of linen, but it's like sandpaper and rarely washed due to water shortages. In the Middle Ages, the linen shirt was a status symbol, and you're clearly at the bottom of the ladder. You start to notice the linen shirt isn't just odor control, it's how you communicate with the world. A clean shirt makes the fishmonger smile at you in the market. A dirty one makes the village steer clear. You proudly show off a freshly washed shirt, but a gust of wind reveals your true stench. The linen shirt, it turns out, is a hero, but not a miracle. Your mother inspects your shirt before church, like God will judge you based on its whiteness. She feels it, grimaces, and declares, "You need a new one." You rummage through the house, only finding a mud-stained spare. Going to church with a clean shirt, it turns out, is how you avoid the priest calling you a filthy sinner. You realize the linen shirt isn't just hygiene, it's your family's honor. When you wear a clean one, your mother brags to the neighbors like you just won a battle. But when it reeks, she looks at you like you've shamed the family name. The linen shirt, it turns out, doesn't just cover your body, it covers your pride. You hear that in Southern Europe, the rich wear silk linen shirts, embroidered with patterns like wearable jewelry. You touch your patched-up rough shirt, wondering if you'll ever own something so fancy. But for villagers, even a tattered linen shirt is a ticket to civilized society. Cleanliness, it turns out, is a dream you wear, though it smells. You start inventing ways to keep your linen shirt clean longer. You avoid heavy work, dodge mud, and even sleep sitting up to keep it wrinkle-free. But a rainy day soaks your shirt, making it reek like a wet stable. The linen shirt is a superhero, but even superheroes fail against medieval weather. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were clever to use linen shirts instead of bathing. They absorbed sweat, were easy to wash, and made the village think you were cleaner than you were. You slip on a freshly washed shirt, feeling like a king, until the cat glares at you like you're a fraud. In the Middle Ages, the linen shirt wasn't just clothing, it was how you survived the village's judging eyes. But wait, if the linen shirt is your hygiene shield, what keeps your stench from being discovered when it still lingers? That's where hair care comes in, or rather, the battle with your tangled, lice-infested hair and bizarre concoctions like beer or eggs. Let's explore how medieval people turned their bird's nest hair into, well, at least a slightly less smelly bird's nest. You sit by the fire, scratching your head, and realizing your hair looks more like a bird's nest than a trendy style. Washing hair in the Middle Ages wasn't simple. It was a war with scalp-burning ash soap, slippery egg yolks, and beer that made you smell like you fell into a brewery. Clean hair? Only if you're lucky or pray hard enough for the lice to move out. Hair care was a journey of mistakes, but at least you tried not to set your head on fire near the hearth. Want medieval dream hair? Grab beer, eggs, and nerves of steel. You pull an old beer mug from the kitchen corner, traded for a potato with the neighbor. Standing outside, you pour it over your head, hoping it'll clean your hair like your mother promised. But now, you just smell like a failed tavern, and your hair's still tangled like it survived a windstorm. You scrub your hair with your hands, feeling like you're wrestling wet straw. The beer's sticky, making you wonder if this is hair washing or marinating for a roast. A louse falls onto your shoulder, like it can't stand the beer either. Washing hair, it turns out, is like inviting the village's insects to a head party. You decide to try egg yolks, since the fishmonger swears they make hair glossy. You crack 2 eggs, mix them, and slather them on, feeling like you're baking in a nightmare. The eggs drip down your neck, attracting a swarm of buzzing flies. After rinsing, your hair's shiny. Until a fly lands, mistaking it for dessert. You hear your mother say ash soap is the professional choice for hair washing. You try a lump made from pig fat and ash, but it burns your scalp like sandpaper. Your hair's slightly cleaner, but your scalp's screaming. Ash soap, it turns out, is the fastest way to wish you were bald. You stare at your tangled hair, wondering how nobles keep theirs fragrant. They use lavender water, dripping it like liquid gold. You touch your beer and egg scented hair, praying it doesn't catch fire by the hearth. In the Middle Ages, beautiful hair was a privilege. You've just got lice and hope. You decide to comb your hair to salvage the situation. You grab an old bone comb, dragging it through your hair like plowing a field. A kingdom of insects tumbles out, from lice to eggs, making you scream in horror. Combing hair, it turns out, isn't beautifying. It's excavating an ecosystem on your head. You hear the neighbor brag about washing hair with rainwater because it's purer than river water. You try standing in a shower, but end up with soaked, freezing hair. The rainwater carries roof dust, making your hair dirtier than before. Washing with nature, it turns out, teaches you nature's not your friend. You start washing your hair less, since every attempt is a new disaster. But your mother won't let up. She makes you wash before church festivals, like God will judge your tangled head. You pour beer on, praying for cleanliness, but the priest still glares like you're a sinner. Clean hair for church, it turns out, is how you avoid being called a barbarian. You realize hair care isn't just hygiene, it's a social statement. Village women braid their hair elaborately, bragging about washing it, though everyone knows it's a lie. You try braiding yours, but it's so tangled it looks like a crow's nest. Beautiful hair, it turns out, is how you fool the village, but not yourself. You hear that in Southern Europe, people wash hair with olive oil and herbs, keeping it clean and fragrant. You touch your dry, straw-like hair, glance at your beer and ash soap, and sigh. Beauty tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Clean hair was a dream you chased, but kept tripping. You start inventing ways to keep hair clean longer. You wear a wool cap, avoid wind, and even sleep sitting up to prevent tangles. But one day by the fire, your hair smokes from old soap grease. Hair care, it turns out, teaches you fire is your medieval head's worst enemy. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just making do. Beer, eggs, ash soap, all were efforts to keep hair from becoming a lice hotel. You comb one last time, feeling you tried your best, until the cat bolts from your head stench. In the Middle Ages, clean hair wasn't the goal. It was a battle you lost, but fought proudly. But wait, if your hair's a disaster, what's worse? Your breath with teeth that never met a brush is the real challenge. Let's explore how medieval people cared for their teeth, or rather, tried to keep them from falling out before they could chew bread. You bite into a hard piece of bread, hear your teeth go crack, and realize medieval dental care was no joke. With no brushes or toothpaste, people used cloth, ash, or chewing sticks from trees to keep teeth strong enough to chew bread. Nobody dreamed of a Hollywood smile. The goal? Don't lose your teeth before dinner. Dental care was a battle with hope, ash, and breath that could scare off the village. A medieval smile? If you still have teeth, you're winning big. You sit at the table, eyeing the bread like an enemy, and decide to clean your teeth before they betray you. You grab an old piece of linen, ready for the fight to keep your teeth in place. Dental care, it turns out, is how you prove you're not a caveman, though your breath says otherwise. You dip the cloth in water, scrubbing your teeth like you're cleaning a charred pan. Each scrub makes your teeth feel looser, but you tell yourself, at least they're still there. After a few minutes, you check the cloth, now black, like you just wiped a forage. Clean teeth? Maybe, but it feels like you chewed dirt. You hear your mother suggest using hearth ash because it whitens teeth. You grab a pinch, rub it on, and immediately cough like you inhaled kitchen smoke. Your teeth aren't whiter, but your gums are red and begging for mercy. Ash, it turns out, is the fastest way to wish you had no teeth. You try a chewing stick, a hazel twig the blacksmith calls a natural brush. You chew the end until it frays, then scrub, feeling like you're polishing wood. A splinter gets stuck between your teeth, making you wince all day. The chewing stick, it turns out, is like inviting a log for a stroll in your mouth. You hear the fishmonger brag about chewing fennel seeds to freshen breath. You try some, hoping your breath stops smelling like a barn. It works until the next bite of bread, and your breath's back to dragon fire level. Fennel seeds, it turns out, are how you fool yourself that your breath isn't a weapon of mass destruction. You check your teeth, wondering how nobles keep theirs from falling out. They use silk cloths with herbal ash, like it's a royal ritual. You touch your wobbly teeth, thinking chewing bread is fancy enough. In the Middle Ages, beautiful teeth were a luxury. You just pray yours don't ditch you. You decide to scrub your teeth before the market, since the fishmonger said, "Good breath seals the deal." You rub cloth, chew sticks, and even try ash, but when you smile, the village backs away. Your breath, it turns out, is strong enough to knock over the healthiest cow. After scrubbing, you grin confidently, and the neighbor's dog barks like it saw a ghost. You start scrubbing your teeth less, since every attempt is a new disaster. But your mother won't budge. She makes you scrub before church, like God will inspect your teeth. You rub cloth, praying your teeth stay put, but the priest still glares like you're a sinner. Clean teeth for church, it turns out, is how you avoid being called a stinky heathen. You realize dental care isn't just hygiene, it's a social badge. Villagers brag about having enough teeth to chew meat, like it's a medal of honor. You try showing off your teeth, but a wobbly one makes the village laugh. Beautiful teeth, it turns out, are how you fool the world, but not the medieval barber dentist. You hear that in Southern Europe. The rich use wine and herb mouthwash, like their teeth are treasures. You touch your yellowed teeth, glance at your cloth and ash, and sigh. Dental tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Clean teeth were a dream you chased, but kept biting failure. You start inventing ways to keep teeth clean longer. You chew bread slowly, avoid tough meat, and even drink water instead of beer to save your teeth. But one day, you bite a seed in the bread, and a tooth goes crack. Dental care, it turns out, teaches you that teeth have the right to abandon you. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just trying to keep their teeth with what they had. Cloth, ash, chewing sticks, all were efforts to chew bread one more day. You scrub one last time, feeling you did your best, until the cat bolts from your breath. In the Middle Ages, clean teeth weren't the goal. It was a battle you lost, but fought proudly. But wait, if your breath's a disaster, what's worse? Your body odor, which no cloth or linen shirt can hide, is the real challenge. Let's explore how medieval people used pomanders and scented cloths to fight stench. And usually lost. You step out of your hut, ready to conquer the market, but a breeze carries your body odor back like a punch. Medieval body odor wasn't a flaw. It was everyone's brand, from peasants to kings. To cover it, people wore pomanders, herb-filled boxes, waved scented cloths, or sprayed perfumes made from weird animal secretions. But could they save you from the village avoiding you like the plague? Definitely not, but at least you tried. Medieval body odor? Not a flaw. It's a lifestyle. You pull a pomander from your pocket, a tiny ball stuffed with herbs. dangling like a badge of honor. You hang it around your neck, hoping it drowns out the sweat wafting from your linen shirt. The pomander, it turns out, is like a candle in a barn, pretty but useless. You take a deep breath, smelling the cloves from the pomander, and think, I'm fragrant. You strut into the market, but the crowd parts like you're carrying the plague. You sniff yourself. The pomander just makes your body odor smell like floral stewed meat. You think you're fresh? Wrong. The village smells you 10 minutes before you arrive. You decide to upgrade with a scented cloth, a piece of linen your mother soaked in homemade rosewater. You wave it in front of your face, feeling like a noble debuting at court. But the cloth just sends your body odor to the fish stall, making the fishmonger grimace. The scented cloth, it turns out, is like fanning a forge. It just makes things worse. You hear the neighbor lady brag about tying herbs to her skirt to mask odor like a portable smell shield. You try tying mint sprigs to your shirt, but they wilt in an hour, leaving a scent like dried grass mixed with sweat. Herbs on your skirt, it turns out, are how you convince yourself you're fresh, but the village knows you're lying. You sneak a drop of your mother's perfume, made from civet cat secretions, a creature you'd rather not meet. You dab it on your neck, hoping to smell like a noble. But the scent's like a zoo mixed with wilted flowers, making you cough. Medieval perfume, it turns out, is how you turn body odor into a chemical weapon. You look around the market, seeing everyone with pomanders or scented cloths, like the village is playing a game of hide the smell. But nobody fools anyone. The body odors blend into a stinky symphony. You wonder, if everyone reeks, why bother? Body odor, it turns out, is the thread tying the village together, in the grossest way possible. You hear nobles use perfumes imported from the Middle East, smelling like Persian gardens. They drip rose oil on silk cloths, waving them like actors. You touch your cheap pomander, thinking not fainting from stench is fancy enough. In the Middle Ages, fragrance was a privilege. You've just got cloves and pride. You decide to try the village women's trick, tying herbs in your hair to mask body odor. You tie rosemary sprigs, feeling like you're wearing a herbal crown, but the herbs fall out, stick to your shirt, and now you smell like spoiled herbal soup. The mobile smell shield, it turns out, is how you turn yourself into a walking stew. You start waving the scented cloth before talking, like a shield against judging eyes. The baker smiles, but you know she's holding her breath. You think you've masked the smell until her dog barks wildly. The scented cloth, it turns out, just makes you bolder while the village flees. You hear that in Southern Europe, people use orange blossom oil, masking odor and softening skin. You touch your cracked skin, glance at your vinegary pomander, and sigh. Odor tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Masking body odor was a dream you chased, but kept falling into a stink pit. You invent ways to keep your pomander fresh longer, stuff in more cloves and pray it doesn't fall apart. But one day, it drops into the mud, and you wear it anyway because it's all you've got. The mud herb mix makes the village stare like you're mad. The pomander, it turns out, is a superhero, but even superheroes lose to medieval mud. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just surviving a smelly world. Pomanders, scented cloths, herbs, all were efforts to avoid the village's side-eye. You wear the pomander one last time, feeling you tried, until the cat bolts from your stench. In the Middle Ages, fragrance wasn't the goal. It was a battle you lost, but fought proudly. But wait, if body odor's a disaster, what's worse? The call of nature with pots, pits, and shouts of "look out below" is the real challenge. Let's explore how medieval people managed needs without terrifying the village. You wake up in the middle of the night, stomach rumbling, and realize medieval toileting wasn't simple. Nobles had stone seats in castles, but poor folks like you had outdoor pits or freezing chamber pots. Pot full, you dump it onto the street, shouting, "Look out below," to warn passers-by, hoping not to ruin anyone's day. The toilet wasn't just a need, it was an adventure full of risks and drama. Medieval toilets? Not relaxing, but an adventure. You pull the chamber pot from under the bed, cold as a winter boulder. You sit, praying not to spill, because your floor doesn't need more decoration. Toileting, it turns out, is a medieval extreme sport. You finish the mission, but now face a bigger challenge: emptying the pot. You open the window, yell, "Look out below," and tip it onto the street, hoping not to hit anyone. A shout rises from below, and you slam the window shut. Congrats, you just ruined someone's day. You recall using the outdoor pit behind the house. Cold wind blows through, and you huddle over a pit smelling like the village's collective effort. A rat scurries by, nearly knocking you in. The pit, it turns out, is where you learn privacy is a luxury dream. You hear your mother say nobles have castle guardrobes, stone seats with chutes to the moat. They sit there, reading letters or chatting with servants, like toileting is a social event. You glance at your pot, thinking not freezing is fancy enough. Noble toilets, it turns out, are how they flex that even their needs are luxurious. You decide to take the pot to the village's shared pit, where everyone uses one big hole. You squeeze between the blacksmith and the fishmonger, avoiding eye contact to keep some dignity. A breeze carries the pit's stench, making you want to run home. The shared pit, it turns out, is where the village unites, in the grossest way possible. You hear some cities, like London, started banning street pot dumping, but the rule's ignored. People still shout, "Look out below," and pour from windows, like it's a family tradition. You try following the law, but neighbors keep dumping, turning streets into a battlefield. Toilet laws, it turns out, are like the blacksmith's promises. Nice, but ignored. You invent ways to use the pot without causing drama. You dump it at midnight when streets are empty and stand far from the window to avoid detection. But one night, you trip, spilling the pot on the floor. Toileting, it turns out, teaches you luck's not on your side. You hear the fishmonger brag about using dry moss instead of toilet paper because it's softer than grass. You try moss, but it sticks to your hand, making you wish you never listened. Medieval toilet paper, it turns out, is whatever you grab, and usually a mistake. You decide to clean the pot before the market, since your mother says, "Nobody buys potatoes from a stinker." You rinse it with vinegar, hoping it's cleaner than you. But the vinegar mixes with residue, making you cough. Cleaning the pot, it turns out, reminds you cleanliness is a myth. You hear that in southern Europe, the rich have private toilets with water pipes, almost like modern ones. You glance at your pot and outdoor pit, sighing at your fate. Toilet tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. The toilet was where you fought stench and lost with pride. You start using the fields during the day, thinking nature will hide everything. But a flock of birds flies over, and you realize you're not as alone as you thought. Outdoor toileting, it turns out, is how you become a stage for the animal kingdom. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just managing needs with what they had. Pots, pits, shouts of, "Look out below," all were efforts to keep the village from becoming a dump. You put the pot back, feeling you survived, until you hear a shout from the neighbor's window. In the Middle Ages, the toilet wasn't a convenience. It was an adventure you wished you never started. But wait, if the toilet's a disaster, what keeps you clean? Medieval soap made from animal fat and ash is the answer, but using it can be worse than the pot's stench. Let's explore how medieval people wrestled with soap to stay hygienic, and often failed. You look at your cracked skin, thinking it's time to clean beyond wiping or linen shirts. Medieval soap, made from animal fat and ash, is the answer, but mostly for laundry, since using it on your body feels like scrubbing with fire. Want Castile soap from Spain, fragrant like a garden? Dream on, that's for nobles only. Soap was a cleanliness dream, but often a nightmare for your skin. Medieval soap. You're clean, but your skin's screaming. You grab a soap lump your mother made from pig fat and ash, looking like a smelly barn rock. You scrub it on your hands, feeling like you're sanding your skin. Clean? Maybe, but your skin's wailing like overbaked bread. You bravely try soap on your face, thinking it'll make you smell noble. But instantly, your skin burns red, stinging like you got splashed with boiling water. You rush to the bucket, rinsing it off, and swear never to touch soap again. Soap, it turns out, is the fastest way to regret dreaming of cleanliness. You stare at the soap, wondering how your mother made it. She boiled pig fat, mixed it with hearth ash, and created this miracle, but it smells like a damp campfire. You sniff it and cough like you inhaled kitchen smoke. Medieval soap, it turns out, is what you use for laundry or to scare off rats. You hear the fishmonger brag about using clay to clean skin, gentler than soap. You try some riverbank clay, rubbing it on your hands, but it just makes your skin dirtier, like you rolled in mud. Clay, it turns out, is like the fishmonger's advice. Sounds good, but ends in disaster. You try herbal powder, ground from your mother's garden weeds. You mix it with water, rub it on, hoping it's milder than soap. But it sticks, making you look like you rolled in rotten leaves. Herbal powder, it turns out, is how you turn yourself into a forest salad, still stinking. You hear about Castile soap from Spain, made from olive oil, fragrant like a garden and gentle on skin. Nobles use it like liquid gold, while you're stuck with pig fat soap that scrapes your skin. You touch your cracked skin, thinking not peeling is fancy enough. Castile soap, it turns out, is a rich person's dream. You've just got ash and patience. You try soap for washing your linen shirt, thinking it's useful there at least. You scrub, making gray foam, but the shirt still smells like a barn. After an hour, your arms are sore, and the shirt's no whiter. Soap, it turns out, is a fake ally, promising clean but delivering pain. You start using soap less, saving it for special occasions like before church. Your mother makes you scrub your hands, saying, "God doesn't want you dirty." You scrub, but your hands turn red, looking like you worked in a forge. Washing hands for church, it turns out, is how you prove you're not a demon, though your skin disagrees. You realize soap isn't just hygiene, it's a social badge. Villagers brag about using soap like it's a medal of honor. You try showing off your soap lump, but the village laughs because it looks like burnt bread. Soap, it turns out, is how you fool the world, but not your skin. You hear that in Southern Europe, people use herbal oil soaps, clean and fragrant. You glance at your pig fat soap, touch your sandpaper skin, and sigh. Soap tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Cleanliness with soap was a dream you chased, but kept falling into pain. You invent ways to use soap without wrecking your skin. Scrub lightly and rinse fast. But one day, you leave it on too long and your skin peels like dry bark. You look at your skin, thinking at least you tried. Soap, it turns out, is a superhero, but the kind that makes you cry. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just trying to stay clean with what they had. Pig fat soap, clay, herbal powder, all were efforts to not smell like a barn. You stash the soap, feeling you survived, until your skin flakes like burnt bread. In the Middle Ages, soap wasn't a hygiene tool. It was a test of courage. But wait, if soap's a disaster, what keeps your linen shirt clean? Medieval laundry with ash water and arm strength is the answer, but it's harder than fighting soap. Let's explore how medieval people turned washing clothes into a battle for reputation. You hold your linen undershirt, reeking like a barn, and realize medieval laundry is the only way to save your reputation in the village. Soaking shirts in urine or ash, bashing them on rocks. It's a full-body workout that makes bathing look easy. Clean clothes weren't just hygiene. They were your honor, the ticket to not being shunned. Laundry wasn't a chore. It was the medieval Olympics, and you're an unwilling athlete. Bathing? Forget it. Laundry's the hygiene battlefield. You trudge to the river, arms full of a linen shirt stiff as armor after a week in the fields. You stare at the murky water, telling yourself, this is where your honor will be saved or drowned. Laundry, it turns out, is a war you want to win and quit at the same time. You soak the shirt in a bucket of ash water your mother prepared, smelling like you opened a pigsty lid. You scrub by hand, feeling like you're wrestling a stubborn cow. After 10 minutes, the shirt's still gray and your hands are red. Clean shirt? Maybe, but your hands are ready to retire. You hear your mother say to add urine to the wash because it whitens clothes. You grimace, soaking the shirt in the village's collective contribution, praying it's as magical as she claims. The urine stench makes you cough like you inhaled kitchen smoke. Urine, it turns out, is the secret to clean shirts and wishing you never learned about laundry. You take the shirt to the river, smashing it on rocks like it's your enemy. Each bash hurts your hands, but you don't stop. The village's honor is watching. After 3 hours, the shirt's slightly whiter, and you feel like a king. A clean shirt after 3 hours of rock bashing? You're a legend, though your hands want to divorce your body. You look around, seeing village women gathered by the river, washing and chatting like a social club. They laugh, gossip, and sometimes toss shirts at each other like a ball game. You join in, hoping to learn their secrets, but get only pitying looks. Laundry, it turns out, is the women's stage, and you're an amateur actor. You hear the fishmonger brag about using pig fat soap to wash shirts faster. You try scrubbing with soap, but the gray foam makes the shirt smell like a burnt kitchen. After an hour, the shirt's still dirty, and you're exhausted like you ran a marathon. Soap, it turns out, is a false friend, promising clean but delivering pain. You decide to wash your shirt before a church festival since your mother says a dirty shirt is the fastest way to get the priest's glare. You soak, bash rocks, and pray it's white as a prayer. But a breeze splashes river mud on it, and you want to cry. A clean shirt for church, it turns out, is how you prove you're not a barbarian, though the heavens disagree. You hear nobles have servants wash their linen shirts with rose water, like the shirts are treasures. They hang them on lines, fragrant like gardens, while your shirt smells of ash and urine. You touch your patched shirt, thinking not tearing is fancy enough. Noble laundry, it turns out, is how they flex that even their clothes are richer than you. You realize laundry isn't just hygiene, it's a badge of honor. A clean shirt makes the village nod, like you won a battle. A dirty one? You're stared at like you crawled from a pigsty. A clean shirt, it turns out, is how you fool the world, but not the village's noses. You hear that in southern Europe, people wash shirts in clean rivers with herbal oils, white and fragrant. You glance at your murky river, touch your gray shirt, and sigh. Laundry tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Washing shirts was a dream you chased, but kept falling into mud. You invent ways to wash shirts with less effort, soak longer, bash lighter, and pray it doesn't rain. But a sudden shower soaks your shirt, making it smell like a flooded barn. You hang it up, thinking at least you tried. Laundry, it turns out, is a superhero, but the kind that loves to disappoint you. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just trying to keep shirts clean to avoid village judgment. Ash water, urine, rock bashing, all were efforts to make the linen shirt a shield of honor. You hang up a freshly washed shirt, feeling like a king, until the cat avoids it for its smell. In the Middle Ages, laundry wasn't a chore. It was a war you won with sweat and tears. But wait, if clean shirts are so hard, what's hiding in them? Lice and fleas, the uninvited roommates, are the real challenge. Let's explore how medieval people fought these bugs, and usually lost. You scratch your neck, feeling a familiar itch, and realize medieval lice and fleas weren't just bugs. They were uninvited roommates. From peasants to kings, everyone had these tiny guests, and people used bone combs, burned clothes, or even shaved heads to evict them. But lice and fleas always returned, like they saw you as a free in. Fighting them wasn't just hygiene, it was a survival war you often lost. Medieval lice? Not bugs, they're family. You grab a bone comb from the corner, ready to face the insects partying on your head. You comb, and a lice parade falls out, like you just raided a colony. After combing, you've got enough lice for a mini zoo. Congrats! You decide to check your linen shirt, where fleas are dancing like it's a festival. You shake it, and dozens of fleas leap out like they're being freed. You scream, tossing the shirt down, but they've jumped to you. Fleas, it turns out, are uninvited dancers you can't evict. You hear your mother suggest burning the shirt near the fire to kill lice. You hang it up, hold it over the flames, and pray you don't burn the hut down. But a spark sets it smoking, leaving you with a charred rag. Burning clothes, it turns out, is how you turn lice to ash, along with your wardrobe. You try hanging an herbal pouch under your pillow, as the fishmonger advised, because fleas hate mint. You stuff it with dried grass and rosemary, hoping it repels the bugs. Morning comes and you wake to fleas dancing on your bed. The herbal pouch, it turns out, is like inviting fleas to a tea party. Zero effect. You decide to comb your hair harder, wielding the bone comb like a lice-hunting warrior. Each stroke feels like plowing, with lice and eggs falling like rain. But just when you think you've won, a new louse crawls up your neck. The bone comb, it turns out, is a grim reaper, but lice are immortal zombies. You hear some people shave their heads to escape lice, like monks in monasteries. You grab a knife, stare at your tangled hair, and decide to risk it. After a few cuts, you look like an egg, but fleas still dance on your scalp. Shaving, it turns out, frees you from hair, not lice. You try sleeping near the fire, thinking heat will scare fleas. But morning comes with dozens of bites, like the fleas held a buffet on you. The fire, it turns out, is an oven, but only for you, not the fleas. You look at your linen shirt, thinking a thorough wash will kill lice. You soak it in ash water, bash it on rocks, but when you wear it again, a louse crawls out to greet you. You scream, wanting to throw it in the river, but it's your only shirt. Washing, it turns out, is a false hope. Lice live better than you. You hear nobles use silver combs to hunt lice, like it's a royal ritual. They hire servants to pick lice while you've got a broken bone comb. You touch your itchy scalp, thinking not being eaten alive is fancy enough. Noble lice control, it turns out, is how they flex that even bugs lose to them. You start inventing ways to repel lice. Wear your shirt inside out, sleep on the floor, and avoid the neighbor's flea-ridden dog. But one day, you sit next to the blacksmith at the market and his fleas jump to you. You realize lice and fleas don't care about rich or poor. They love everyone. Lice, it turns out, are how the village unites in the itchiest way possible. You hear that in southern Europe, people use sulfur powder to repel fleas, effective and fragrant. You glance at your useless bone comb and herbal pouch, touch your bite-covered skin, and sigh. Bug tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Fighting lice was a dream you chased, but kept getting bitten. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just coexisting with lice and fleas any way they could. Bone combs, burning clothes, shaving heads, all were efforts to avoid being a bug buffet. You comb one last time, feeling you tried, until the cat avoids you because lice jump to it. In the Middle Ages, lice weren't enemies. They were roommates you could never evict. But wait, if lice make you miserable, what restores your confidence? Medieval perfumes and herbs, from animal secretions to dried flowers, are the answer. But they often made you smell worse. Let's explore how medieval people tried to mask stench and failed spectacularly. You step into the market, determined not to let body odor make you the village gossip, thinking medieval perfume will save the day. Made from herbs, flowers, or odd animal secretions like civet cat, perfume was how people upgraded their stench, but the result was often worse than they thought. From nobles to peasants, everyone tried, but the village still smelled off. Perfume wasn't a solution, it was a gamble that made you reek like a floral zoo. Medieval perfume, you try to smell good, but the village smells wrong. You sneak your mother's perfume vial, a homemade mix of dried grass and something she calls civet cat essence. You dab it on your neck, feeling like a noble heading to court. But the stench, like a zoo, makes you cough. Fancy, my foot. You stride into the market, thinking perfume will mask the sweat from your linen shirt. But the crowd parts like you're carrying a herd of pigs. You sniff yourself. The perfume just makes your body odor smell like barn stew with flowers. After spritzing, you think you're noble, but the birds fly away choking. You try herbal perfume, steeped from lavender the fishmonger swears is garden fresh. You rub it on your hands, hoping it's gentler than civet, but it smells like rain-soaked hay. Your skin's sticky, attracting buzzing flies. Herbal perfume, it turns out, is how you turn yourself into a wilted vase. You hear your mother say perfume is a status symbol, and the elite import Middle Eastern ones to flex wealth. They drip rose oil, fragrant like Persian gardens, while you've got civet stench. You touch your gray linen shirt, thinking not passing out from smell is civilized enough. Middle Eastern perfume, it turns out, is a rich person's dream. You've just got grass and pride. You try dabbing perfume on your hair, like village women do to mask odor. You drip homemade lavender, feeling like you're wearing a fragrant crown. But it mixes with your beer-scented hair, making you smell like an abandoned tavern. Hair perfume, it turns out, is how you turn your head into spoiled herbal soup. You decide to wave a perfume-soaked cloth like nobles do to impress. You wave it at the baker, hoping for a smile. But she grimaces, holding her breath, and her dog barks wildly. The perfumed cloth, it turns out, is like fanning a barn. It just spreads the stench. You hear some people stuff dried flowers in their shirts to mask body odor. You tuck petals into your linen, thinking it'll make you spring fresh. But they crumble, stick to your skin, and itch like lice. Dried flowers, it turns out, are how you turn your shirt into a buggy garden. You dab perfume on your neck before church, since your mother says, God doesn't want to smell you. You spritz civet, praying the priest doesn't glare. But the stench makes the pew cough, and the priest eyes you like a sinner. Perfume for church, it turns out, is how you prove you're not a demon, but makes the village think otherwise. You realize perfume isn't just hygiene, it's a social badge. Village women flaunt homemade perfumes like they're castle ladies. You try showing off your vial, but the village laughs because it smells like a zoo. Perfume, it turns out, is how you fool the world, but not the village's noses. You hear that in Southern Europe, people use orange flower oil, fragrant and skin softening. You glance at your civet vial, touch your cracked skin, and sigh. Perfume tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Smelling good was a dream you chased, but kept falling into a stink pit. You invent ways to use perfume without scaring the village, dab less, spritz farther, and stand upwind. But one day, you overdo it, and the civet smell makes your cat run away. You stare at the vial, thinking at least you tried. Perfume, it turns out, is a superhero, but the kind that makes you cry. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just trying to mask stench with what they had. Civet perfume, herbs, dried flowers, all were efforts to avoid the village's side-eye. You stash the vial, feeling you survived, until the neighbor's dog barks at your smell. In the Middle Ages, fragrance wasn't the goal. It was a battle you lost but fought proudly. But wait, if perfume fails, what helps you survive the brutal winter? Seasonal hygiene when water freezes and bathing is suicide is the final challenge. Let's explore how medieval people stayed clean in the cold, or just tried not to freeze. You huddle by a crackling fire, wind whistling through the walls, and realize medieval hygiene changed with the seasons like a cruel joke from the heavens. In summer, you wiped down, washed shirts, but winter? Hygiene was a luxury dream. Water froze, bathing was suicide, and everyone just prayed to survive the cold. In the frost, cleanliness wasn't the goal. It was a bonus if you didn't turn into a smelly ice statue. Medieval winter hygiene? If you're not frozen, you're clean enough. You glance at the bucket in the corner, now a block of ice sparkling like cheap crystal. You grab a linen cloth, thinking of wiping down, but your hands shake like they got slapped by a snowstorm. Winter wiping, it turns out, is how you convince yourself you're still human, though you look like a frosty mummy. You risk breaking the ice on the bucket, dipping the cloth in water that cuts like knives. Scrubbing your face, you shiver like a wet dog, feeling your skin might flake off. After 2 scrubs, you decide, smells fine, I don't need to be that clean. Winter hygiene, it turns out, is choosing survival over fragrance. Your mother suggests rubbing pig fat on your skin to prevent cracking, also protecting it from the cold. You grab fat from the kitchen, smear it on your hands, feeling like you're buttering rock-hard bread. The greasy stench makes you cough, but your skin cracks less. Pig fat, it turns out, is medieval moisturizer, but makes you smell like forgotten stew. Your linen shirt reeks like a barn after a month unwashed. Winter laundry? Water's frozen, and hanging shirts outside turns them into icy armor. You layer on another dirty shirt, calling it winter hygiene. Winter washing, it turns out, is a dream you ditch to avoid freezing. You try combing your hair, thinking at least your head should be clean. But the bone comb snags in tangled hair, and a louse falls out, reminding you winter doesn't spare bugs. You slap on a wool cap, hoping to hide hair and lice. Winter hair care, it turns out, is surrendering before the battle starts. The fishmonger brags about wiping with a damp cloth near the fire to stay warm. You try, but the cloth steam makes you shiver more, and the fire only warms the fleas in your shirt. Damp cloths, it turns out, are like hugging ice in a blizzard. The chamber pot under the bed is your only comfort. It doesn't freeze. But dumping it in winter is an adventure. You slip on ice, nearly spilling it on yourself. You shout, "Look out below," but only snow answers. Winter toileting, it turns out, is a skating sport you never wanted to play. You hear nobles have heated rooms for winter wiping, with servants bringing herb-scented hot water. They rub rose oil on skin like the cold's a joke. You touch your sandpaper skin, thinking not freezing is a big win. Noble winter hygiene, it turns out, is how they laugh at the weather, while you just shiver. You try chewing fennel seeds to freshen winter breath, worse than summer's. The frozen seeds nearly crack your teeth, and your breath still dragon fire. You shrug, thinking everyone stinks, so nobody judges. Winter breath, it turns out, unites the village in the stinkiest way possible. In southern Europe, people use warm springs for winter wiping, clean and shiver-free. You glance at your icy bucket, touch your cracked skin, and sigh. Winter hygiene tech wasn't for poor villagers like you. Winter cleanliness was a dream you chased, but kept falling into snow. You invent ways to stay clean without water, wear more dirty shirts, sleep by the fire, and avoid scratching to keep lice calm. But one day, you slip on ice, fall into dirty snow, and your shirt smells like a wet barn. You stand, thinking at least you tried. Winter hygiene, it turns out, is a superhero, but the kind that makes you cry. Looking back, you see medieval people weren't lazy. They were just surviving winter with what they had. Pig fat, dirty shirts, icy water. All were efforts to avoid becoming a smelly ice statue. You layer on another shirt, feeling you survived, until the cat avoids your stench. In the Middle Ages, winter hygiene wasn't cleanliness. It was a survival war you won with patience. So we've journeyed through medieval hygiene, from bathing that gambled with death, dramatic public bathhouses, to half-hearted wiping, linen shirts saving reputations, and wars with lice, civet perfume, and look-out-below chamber pots. Medieval people lacked modern soap, brushes, or showers, but they had creativity and courage to face stench, bugs, and frost. They taught us cleanliness isn't just fragrant skin or white shirts. It's how you survive each day with a bit of pride, even if the village smells you from afar. What do you think? If you lived in the Middle Ages, would you wipe down with icy water or let body odor be your brand?